Before we go any further, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon, because without their help, none of this upgraded content that you'd be seeing would be possible. Over on the Patreon, you get exclusive sneak peeks at upcoming videos. You also get access to the Patreon only Discord server. Coming up soon, I'm going to be working on talking about other anime that I can't talk about here on YouTube, like say ReZero, Konosuba, and etc. I'm also going to start posting the scripts for video essays, and every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul. We also are going to open up the Patreon only Discord server to YouTube members at the $2 price tier, which also means that members will be seeing their name here alongside the patron. But with that being said, let's get back into today's video. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, episode 272. And now that episode 272 is done in the books, we got a lot to talk about on here. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the huge elephant in the room, which is that Boruto's anime pulled the ultimate fake out. So if you said like, yo, this trickery of that level does not fool me, congratulations, you are a great prognosticator. I was hoping against hope that they weren't gonna go this route. Like I said last week, because of the camera angles on how it was done, it kind of gave the illusion that Kai might actually have survived, but I was hoping that she wouldn't, just because of what it would do for Kawaki's character to push him closer towards manga Kawaki. However, it looks like Kawaki is not going to suffer a heart-wrenching loss in this arc like he did in the prior arc. So interesting decision on that, especially given the fact that Kai looks about the same age as that child who died in the first arc. But this is a shonen. At some point they're gonna pull punches. It is what it is. I am terribly disappointed at that. Now we got that part of the review out of the way. Let's back things up and let's get into the recap portion of the review before we get into the actual review itself. So the episode opens up where you have Kawaki and you're getting the repeat of everything that happened with Kai from Kawaki's perspective, and you have this moment where the academy students show up and Kawaki breaks the news like, hey, Kai is dead. They're all going like, oh my god, this isn't true, I can't believe this. They're taking the same stance that Himawari did, where they're hoping against hope and they're saying there's no way that Kai actually died. And you have Kawaki breaking the news to him, and Kawaki begins to start replaying the situation. You see in real time how the faces of the different people who are classmates there begin to start changing, and one constant that you see is that Himawari never loses faith that Kai is dead. And you have this moment where the academy students begin to start thinking things through, and as Kawaki's assessing the situation, trying to figure out how he's going to get across that bridge, you actually have the academy students where one of them just conveniently happens to have a rope kunai, and they throw the rope kunai across the bridge, and all the students in Kawaki begin to start crossing the bridge using that rope. And you have Kawaki saying maybe he and Hana have actually underestimated the academy students because, well, they're academy students, which I think that part right there, that is important for Kawaki to kind of grasp and kind of see where they're taking this. Like, while I'm not a huge fan of Kai being alive, I will say the logic behind it made sense as to what was revealed in the episode itself, and her being alive does fit that whole theme of a ninja must see past deception that goes towards the viewers as well. So there are a few ways you can justify her being alive. I just personally, I'm not for it. Essentially, after they end up crossing the bridge, you have this moment where Kawaki is looking at the various academy students, and you can tell that in the time that he was in the academy, he paid very close attention to everybody in there, including their skill sets. And so one of the first things he does is he asks the girl from the Aburame clan, like, hey, can you control your insects over a long distance like Shino? We don't have a ninja hound in order to try and track things out, and we also don't have the drone to try and use the drone to see where Kai and Hana might be, which that kind of makes you look at Akamaru a little bit different, because like Akamaru was sitting on Kiba's head and like Akamaru was sensing stuff. So I don't know if that's something that like you have to be trained, you have to train your ninja dog, something like that. And it could be something like with the girl from Shino's clan who also can't use her insects over a long distance. Maybe that's the case. Kawaki has to scratch that idea. However, the thing that they notice is that when they start looking over the other information they have, we have this moment where that girl that's the reporter, she starts talking about how in one of her magazine issues, she interviewed a couple that was stranded on this island, and she talks about how there might have been some information in that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Maybe she can remember some details from that. However, also very conveniently, one of the classmates also happens to have every freaking issue that she's done on that magazine, saying I was going to read it for when I had downtime on this island. Again, there's a lot of plot convenient stuff in this episode that made me go really, like, I know it's a shonen and I know there's a lot, and I mean a lot of plot armor in shonen series, but wow. And the fact that Sai is showing up in the next episode to help with the resolution, it's a shonen. At this point, you should know to expect it. But at least with the whole thing with Hana keeping Kai alive, at least there's some nuggets that you can say, hey, this is foreshadowed, because the minister being captured went against their plan. Once that happened, you can no longer kill Kai. You got to use her as a bargaining chip in order to probably force her to renounce her right to the throne. Use her as a bargaining chip to get the prime minister released, and now that she's had the throne rights renounced, you put on her younger brother or cousin or whoever it was they were trying to put onto the throne. So I get it, but Jesus, wow. Shonen at its finest, or rather gateway shonen at its finest, because not all shonen go this route. Now, the next thing that happens is you end up seeing Kawaki come to the realization the only way to leave an island is, you guessed it, by ship. Especially if you're not trying to be seen, because some type of an aircraft would have been detected, but at least by leaving via ship, you're able to go undetected. Which at some point you look at it and you say either Kawaki is not that bright, or Kawaki's just so desperate right now to try and find Kai that he overlooked the obvious answer in front of him. I'm going to lean toward the second of these options, that Kawaki's just desperate to find Kai, because that was the first thing went through my head when we saw that Kai was alive. It's like, okay, they came by ship, they got to leave by ship. Leaving by ship in the dead of the night is the most discreet and the most ninja thing that you could do. Hana's an assassin ninja. 2 and 2 equals 4. However, the episode then shifts over where you have Kai. She's in captivity. She's hearing the reason why Hana kept her alive. Kai is trying to get through to Hana. She's trying to say that she doesn't believe this is who she is. And you have this moment where you see Hana begin to start crying, because on the inside, somewhere in the deepest corner of her mind, you have the sweet Hana sensei that you saw in the academy, and you have that scene where she starts crying after Kai ends up getting slapped up by Hana, and you have Hana go out after the fact, likely trying to put some distance between herself and Kai. Also, she left that kunai behind for a reason. Kai takes the opportunity to try and slice off the rope that has her hands tied up. I think more than likely Hana was trying to leave, because seeing Kai damaged and tied up in this way and suffering and feeling so betrayed was likely stirring up the sweet side of Hana, and so the assassin side was trying to put distance between her until it was time to get on the ship. Totally understand why that was done. They're telegraphing how this arc is going to end. The sweet Hana is going to overcome everything at the end of this arc. You can see it happening. The only real question you have now is, like, how far in the fight with Kawaki does it take for Hana to start waking up? That's the only question there. And the fact that Sai's showing up, I think Sai's likely going to show up at the very end of this, kind of like how you saw with the New Age stuff, because this arc very much mirrors what you had in the academy. If we have Sai taking Hana to some type of mental rehabilitation clinic at the end of this, I wouldn't be shocked, man. I really wouldn't be shocked, because this is a beat for beat homage to the academy, just with a few things sprinkled in. Now, the other thing about this episode is that while you have Kai and she's able to break free and she's able to start running away, and she briefly starts trying to fight against Hana sensei, as the academy students are trying to rush towards Kai's location, you have this moment where they pay homage to what you saw in Naruto's manga. I believe in volume 53, that should be the volume where you learn about Kushina's backstory. In that volume, we learn about how Kushina was leaving traces of her hair behind when the Cloud Village had kidnapped her, and that's what led to Minato rescuing her. Well, Kai does something similar here, where she takes bits and pieces of her bakeries and she starts leaving them as breadcrumbs, and the kid who ended up making the bakery item for is the one that smells the scent. And once they track down her location, that's when Kawaki tells academy students, like, hey, I wouldn't have got this far without you guys, so I thank you for your help, but I'm going to take things from here. I'm a shinobi, you guys aren't. That's not anything against you personally. It's just that right now you guys do more damage than good if you help me out. And you have a moment where Kawaki says he's learned that there's more to being a ninja than power, and there's one problem with that. He's absolutely making the right determination, but I'm wondering how they're going to write things in the future to make him backslide like how he did in the manga, where he's like, hey, the way Jigen did things is better than this ninja stuff. I'm kind of curious how they're going to handle that one subtle change right there. Now, the other thing about this is that when Kawaki begins to start going off on his own, Himawari sneaks up and Kawaki gets irritated because he's like, man, I never should have told her about this partner and stuff. You can see it on his face. That's what he's thinking. And he goes as far as to say that you remind me of another overconfident and stubborn individual in your family, obviously alluding to Boruto. But here's the thing about that too. Himawari being there likely means that Himawari might see some action in the next episode. I'm kind of hoping to see that. But the big thing out of this is that we see Kawaki come full circle back to where he started at the top of the academy, only this time Kawaki has a great understanding of teamwork, which is something that Naruto wanted him to come into the academy to actually get. So you're seeing some things pay off here. It's really going to come down to how the Hana fight ends up happening. They're telegraphing it. So it's just how are we getting to that part? Because this next episode is going to be the end of the arc itself. And that should be when we start transitioning over to what got announced the other day, which is a potential Sasuke and Boruto arc. So overall, this was an episode I had issues with, not just some story. There were some animation issues. However, there was a lot of correction. You can see where there are corrected scenes on here that brought the quality of the episode up to average. So it wasn't terrible. It's better paced than some of the other Boruto episodes that have tried something like this. However, there are issues with the episode. But to give credit where credit's due, there was a lot of well done bounce elements in this episode, especially like when you see hair flaps and everything like that. There was actually some good stuff on there, as well as some good pose to pose. The character acting could have been a little bit better at times, but this wasn't a terrible episode animation wise. Again, there was some stuff that could be done better. I don't expect Sakuga every week with a weekly anime, but at least with this episode, it didn't take me all the way out, because there have been Boruto episodes in the past that just took me all the way out because of the inconsistent animation. It's almost a curse when you know what to look for. So my episode question to you guys is, do you guys think Kai staying alive undermines Kawaki's character development? While you think that over, click here to watch my Sasuke Retsuden chapter review, or click here to watch my Boruto chapter 74 review.